Hey, welcome to this Tuesday with Michelle. I am your girl Michelle, bringing you the hottest content this Tuesday. What's going on, everyone? What's good? What's popping? What's new? I did 6 long episodes with married couples, and now I'm going to tie it all together in the one mini episode where I'm just going to pick up on some things that came up in the episodes, some things that I thought were very, very interesting and stuff like that. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. And actually, quick thing, before we even get into it, how adorable and how sweet were the couples that came on here, honestly. And it was so nice because it was the first time that I was doing it with guests where the guests would be in the same room. So I've always done episodes where, like, I'm in like a separate location to like the other guest and also the other guest. So it's like 3 locations. But this time around, it was like the couples were in the same room. You can feel the love on the other side. Like, I'm like, oh my gosh, like just the fact that they're just cheesing and like giggling, it's just the most adorable thing, honestly. It was like, can you feel the love tonight? It was so cute. Okay, let's get into it, honey. First thing I want to say is there's so many different ways to meet people. Meet someone who could become your boyfriend or girlfriend, meet somebody who could become your partner, somebody who could become your husband or your wife. And it's so funny how it all worked out because when I was asking these couples to be on the podcast, it wasn't intentional in terms of like just seeing the variety of different ways of how people met. I actually didn't even know how some of the couples met until they came on the show and we were like recording, right? But guys, we had a couple that met at a wedding pre-college for the wife, a couple that met in high school, a couple that met on Hinge, a couple that met on Instagram, a couple that met in college, and I like to call them my love and basketball and soccer couple, and then a couple that met at a wedding as adults. So what I want to say about this is, y'all listen, okay? This goes out to some people who close off some options. It is happening where people are getting married by like meeting people on Hinge, right? And people meeting people on Instagram, someone just sliding into your DM. So I think one thing I'll just say is for people who might be closed minded, just be open about it, right? Like just be open because literally you can meet anyone anywhere. It could be like, you had a car, like a tire puncture or whatever, and you needed help with your car. It could be in a grocery store. So it could happen at any moment, anywhere. The second thing I wanted to bring up is, you guys probably heard from listening to the episodes that people know in different ways if the person they're with is the person they want to spend the rest of their lives with. So it could be for some people, they pray about it and they get confirmation. For some people, it's just a peace that they feel. For some people, they get the sense while they're even in the friendship stage before they decide to be in a relationship with someone. For some people, it could be from seeing how the partner was interacting with their family. So again, it's just like being open-minded and being like, you know what? Everyone's story is going to look different. If you've heard the exact same story from a lot of people in terms of how they knew, it doesn't mean that that's gonna be your story, So just being open to like how that would look for you and being comfortable in your confirmation that you get for yourself, that this is the person that you want to be with. Another thing is the length of dating, right? Like from when you start dating somebody to marrying somebody or even getting engaged, it varied from couple to couple, from like the people that I was speaking to. So it's totally okay. And I think something that I really, really liked just listening to, say, for example, Danella and Josh's story, I think they got engaged within 6 months. They knew. And when they knew, they just knew and they proceeded with it, right? So I think something that I'll just say as well is for some people, if you know earlier on, of course, you could be met with opposition from like people in your family or like your friends. If you're confident and if you're comfortable with the decision that you're going to make, that this is the person you want to spend your life with, then by all means, go ahead and do that. And I think also it's so interesting, right? Because I think when you're younger, so like when you're in high school, you're open to dating someone for not 20 years, but like you're open to dating someone for like 10 years before you get married. But then I guess as people become adults, the timeline, it might shrink a little bit, right? It might not be like 10 years anymore. It might be 5, or it might be like 2, it might be 1. Whatever you make it, just be confident in whatever you decide and then move with that. Another theme that came up is that fighting is healthy. Something that I really liked that Sally and Collins brought up was that whenever they would fight, they just were always still respectful to each other and they didn't like call each other out of their names and use use terms to call each other, right? They didn't cuss at each other and stuff like that. So I think something I picked up from all the couples really is that when you fight or fights happen, you know, it's natural and it's okay. It's just more of knowing how to fight best with your partner and coming to that resolution. Another thing that came up is long distance dating. For some couples, they did it for a shorter period than others. For some couples, they didn't experience it. But for some people, you know, they experienced it over a long period of time, but they had to come up with ways to make it work. So there was, you know, for example, the latest episode with Della and Francis, there was like talking on FaceTime, which is pretty much what all the couples did in long distance, but they also visited each other like frequently and tried to like spend that time with each other, which was really, really helpful. So I think for people who are in long distance relationships, I think it was really good to hear some of the love stories, because in as much as it can be so hard going through the long distance relationship, you know, from speaking to these couples, if you have an end goal in mind and you have something that you're working towards, right, like you can make it work. And the same story, I mean, even applies to say Chido and Fungai, or Sabdi and Troy, because they also had like a long distance relationship. So all of these things, you know, hardships can happen, but if you're sure that this is the person you want to be with, the work is going to be worth it in the end. Something that also came up in these episodes was talking about adjusting to living with someone or sharing a space with someone. And Matt and Ashley brought that up because they moved in together after they were engaged. And they even moved like cities together. So like just talking through adjusting, right, through that, where it's like, okay, now you have to figure out your career in a new city, and also you're living with this person. So I thought that was really cool. I mean, for people who want to move in with their partners, you know, to each their own. Whenever you want to move in, if it's like before you're married to someone or if it's after you're married to someone, just hearing how other people found their experiences of living with other people could be helpful as well, just to, you know, hear what life looked like for other people. This was also a pretty cool series because, and again, it wasn't planned, but I ended up having people who were interracial, intercultural couples, and then I also had people who were like from the same culture, right, or same ethnicity or same race. And so it was really cool to just hear how people handle different things, especially for the interracial and intercultural couples. Sometimes people might not be fully supportive of your relationship, and like, how did they go about navigating those situations as well? Something that I heard across all 6 stories is the importance of being yourself. So like the fact that these people ended up being married to each other, they would always say like, oh, it's because like I could truly be myself with this person, right? And I think that's so important, even if we're not talking about marriage, even if you're in a relationship itself, the person that you're with should make you feel good about being the person that you are at your core. Of course, you know, relationships are there to also like help us grow and stuff like that. And we all have weaknesses that we can grow through. But you also have to have somebody who loves you through that, and somebody who accepts you as you are and who doesn't want to change every single thing about you. And I think it was so, so cute how all 6 couples were talking about how, like, you know, their spouse is their best friend, right? Like, and just the importance of the friendship. So there's love, which is, yes, okay, romantically, they're in love with each other, but at the core of it, they're friends. So I just really hope that, you know, you guys enjoyed the love stories. Of course, there was also the very sweet aspect of hearing like, oh, how people met and all the engagement and all of that stuff. I think there were also really, really solid lessons that, you know, we could pick up. And guys, like I always say, you know, these are just examples of what life has looked like for certain people. We don't have the same story as everybody, right? It's just more of like learning from each other as each of these episodes are released. So yeah, that's it from me, guys. Thank you so much for listening. And also, in the whole spirit of keeping things spicy, you guys are going to get a long episode that wraps up all the boundaries that we had. I'm so, so excited for that episode. I'm going to be doing it with Mandy. And we're basically going to like share from experience like what those boundaries have looked like for us. So yeah, so look forward to that. I will catch you guys in the next episode. Peace.